Yes.
So why are we so concerned about UCC? If out of 193 countries, only few countries are having UCC.
Even some of the prominent Hindu leaders were there. They
Yes.
were opposing the implementation
Exactly.
of UCC at that time.
At that
So, sir, in my opinion, we should shift personal law from concurrent list to central list.
there are certain tribes like Garo, Khasi, Jaintia tribes. So these tribes, what they follow is a matrilineal lineage. Like the property, the rights are transferred from mother to the daughter. There was certain initiative taken to at least unify the Hindu laws in the form of Hindu Marriage Act of 1955, in which there was a woman, 73-year-old woman, and she basically put a case against her husband for paying of maintenance. Are there any states which has implemented UCC in India? The only state that comes to my mind is the Muslim Women's Act of 1986, which basically said that this section 125 of CRPC will not be applicable to and that is completely normal to fall in love with somebody else. But when you are in marriage, that becomes an issue. So if you are protecting those interests, why can't you protect our interest? If you are allowing for their religious freedom, why can't you allow for our religious freedom? In fact, if we are talking about UCC, that is, we are talking about the protection of the rights of women only. Hi everyone, my name is Saurav, and today we are going to discuss about a very contested topic, and that is Uniform Civil Code. Uniform Civil Code is mentioned in Article 44 of the DPSP, that is a part of Indian Constitution. And in this particular conversation, we'll cover various aspects of Uniform Civil Code, and we will talk about what was the state of UCC in the pre-independence era, what happened in the constitutional debates, and what is the state of UCC after independence as well. We'll also cover certain important landmark judgments, especially the Shah Bano case of 1985, and we'll also cover the recommendation of law commissions. In the end, we'll also discuss about the pros and cons of implementation of UCC. The purpose of this particular debate and discussion is to spread awareness and not to criticize any particular community. So we'll start with the initial opinions of people on the UCC.
Good morning everyone. My name is Jayanto, and today we are going to discuss about the Uniform Civil Code. And Uniform Civil Code has been in the public domain, and it has been a topic of debate for several years.
Yes.
So the ruling party BJP mentioned it in most of their manifestos. And after a fiery speech of PM Modi, it has been in the public domain and people are discussing about it. So we are going to discuss it thoroughly.
And they have also mentioned in their manifesto that they are going to implement after getting re-election. So if that is the case, if UCC is going to be implemented after the re-election of this current government, so that itself makes this topic a very, very important one. So yes, what about you? What is your opinion, initial opinion about UCC?
Sir, according to me, that UCC is a thing that in India, as we all know that India is a religious country. It have many different religions as well. So if we intend UCC, so it will have only one common law that every respect of religion everyone has to follow, and it could be good for our country as well.
So we'll talk about the pros and cons at the end, obviously. Yes. What about you? What do you think about the UCC?
So, India has a very long history on personal law based on religion. We can see it from Britishers also. They have uniform commercial law according to their convenience. They have uniform criminal code. All will get
same punishment.
Equal punishment.
Yes.
But when it comes to personal law, they leave it to religious purpose. Do according what your religion says.
So basically, you're talking about when the Britishers came to India. Yes, that was their approach towards Indian laws. Initially in 1840. I think we'll start with the 1840 report of the Lex Loci itself, and where they had emphasized about that we need to codify the laws in India, but they also mentioned very clearly that we'll keep the personal laws out of it. The Lex Loci Report of 1840 obviously was a starting point of, I will say, the codification of laws in India. But even then, they said that the personal laws of Hindus, Muslims and other things will keep out of them. So what is your opinion about that?
like as he mentioned that UCC has a very long history of
Yes.
its own,
Yes.
and even in some of the civilization that are some of the civilization they used to have some UCC. Like we can say that in the Roman Empire, it is just gentium, and it is the just gentium. It is kind of like law which is present for all of the citizens across the Roman Empire.
All right.
And like even in the United Nations, there are 193 nations. Just only few of the nations are having uniform
UCC.
civil code. Yes.
So why are we like so concerned about UCC? If like out of 193 countries, only few countries are having UCC. So do you think that it is something which is so important that has to be implemented in a country? If so few countries are having it.
It could be one reason because of the diversity of India. As you know that India is a very diverse country,
Yes.
and there are having more than 10 major religions in India.
Obviously.
But in all the other countries, like they are probably like mono-religious. They are having one religion or at most 2 or 3 religions. So that is why.
So as I initiated the conversation about the Lex Loci Report, they wanted to codify. That is all right, and that came in the form of Indian Penal Code, Criminal Procedural Code, and all that, Indian Evidence Act as well. But they did not enter into the personal sphere of Hindus and Muslims. Why do you think that?
So as we know, the policy of Britishers of divide and rule.
Yes.
They would not enter into the religious matter. Once they tried to enter the religious matter by abolishing Sati.
Yes. I think
widow remarriage.
that
But they have
they-
seen the consequences in 1857.
So revolt, yes,
When they
yes,
get
yes.
to know that what happened in interfering
in the personal
in the
sphere
personal
of people,
sphere.
because the orthodox section of the people, they got hurt and they also participated in the revolt of 1857. So I think in 1859 there was a Queen proclamation in which they said that we are not going to interfere in the religious, absolute non-interference in the religious matters of India. Why do you think that happened?
So in the Queen's proclamation of 1859, we have seen that the revolt happened because of various causes, and the most prominent causes.
Yes,
Enfield
that
rifle
Royal
and the-
Enfield rifle,
Royal
the
Enfield
cartridges.
rifle, and one more was that at the time there was one more thing that was popular. Like if you cross the sea, your religion would be lost.
The caste system actually.
The caste system
will
actually.
be lost. So for especially the upper caste people, especially the Brahmins, for them crossing the seas would mean the loss of caste as well, and they will not be accepted back in their society. So in that, at that time, the caste was the biggest identity for a lot of people, especially the upper caste Hindus. So for that reason, that is one of the reason for revolt as well. And the other thing that you talked about was the cartridges made of fat. So it was both cow and pig fat, which is again it will hurt the religious feelings of both Hindus and Muslims. So and we have all seen in that movie, I think Mangal Pandey as well, that the same kind of situation was observed. So yes, any other point that you want to
The
add?
famous historian Bipin Chandra also wrote in his book that a man can live without his home, but a man cannot live without his religion. Once he is outcasted from his religion, he is not accepted anywhere.
Okay. But what happened during independence time? Was there any initiative taken by certain individual in order to bring some kind of uniformity in the laws part?
So while we talk about the Indians were struggling to get the independence,
Yes.
and it was another struggle that was continuously hurting, and nobody was paying attention to that.
Yes.
And that was particularly the struggle of the women. Like if I particularly talk about the struggle of the women, it is one of the organization, or particularly NGO, like All India Women's Conference. That was a NGO established in 1927.
All right.
Okay, so
37.
1927.
All right.
Rajkumari Amrit Kaur was the president
Of
of that NGO, and one of the members, like I quote and unquote her, like she said that if we want to get divorce from our husband, we do not have such laws from them. We have
Obviously.
we have to desert our religion to get the divorce.
Exactly, because in Hindus, the concept of divorce is not there, was not there earlier. So if you have married, that means that you have married for life. So again, the rights of women, if they do not want that husband to continue, so again, that right is not there with the women part. So that hurts the interest of women as well. So ultimately, in the personal laws, why are we talking about removing the personal laws and implementing UCC? I think one of the reason for that is the issues of women. Because I think in a marriage, in the earlier days, it is the women whose right was being affected. Mostly we are talking about in fact, if we are talking about UCC, that is we are talking about the protection of the rights of women only. Because in the marriage, I think we all know that in whatever religion you belong to, it is the women who suffers the most. Yes.
Like sir, after independence also on 23rd November 1948 in presence of Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, our Prime Minister, and Dr. B.R. Ambedkar presented UCC in front of the General Assembly
So
also.
you are talking about the constitutional debates
Yes,
that
sir.
happened after independence.
Yes, sir.
So you were saying that B.R. Ambedkar presented that UCC bill.
Yes.
So I think both Nehru and Ambedkar, they were arguing for implementation
Yes.
of UCC. So what happened there?
Then mostly the people, most of the people disagree with the statement because because of the religion. They thought that
Obviously.
their religion would be hampered. Then the Pandit Nehru told that we can implement UCC, but it's not the right time for implementing.
Okay, so basically they thought that India was not ready for UCC to be implemented in the country.
Right.
And but they still favored the implementation of UCC.
Yes.
Yes, you want to add something to it?
In India, many Muslims were also residing.
Yes,
And
yes,
they
yes.
have decided to reside in India only.
Because of secularism, because
Yes,
the
sir.
value advocated by India was that India will be a secular country.
Yes, sir, obviously.
Yes.
So if that time if UCC will implement it, so it may get wrong thoughts to them that now India is getting
But
Hindu
UCC,
priority.
how do you think that UCC, when UCC is talking about uniformity, I think instead of division, it is going to create more unity. So don't you think that was an ideal time for implementation of UCC, when we could have showed to the country that we are willing to unite together, that the country will be united, all the people of India will be under the same criminal and civil laws.
Sir, we can today also we can see that many of the people do not know what is UCC
Yes.
or do not know the right meaning.
Exactly.
So we cannot expect at that time that people will understand what is UCC. If some misunderstanding will be created,
that
then
could have
more
led to-
chaos can be happen.
Exactly,
We
communal
can see in
tensions.
1947 how bloodshed was
Yeah,
there.
during the partition,
During the partition.
in Bengal and in Punjab.
Yes, and I also want to talk about the far-sightedness of the framers of our constitution.
Yes,
like
yes.
in the Constituent Assembly itself, like when the committees were being made. So, like our prominent constitution maker, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, K.M. Munshi, and few other members, they were given the responsibility to make a draft of the constitution, to make a draft of the fundamental laws. So further they divided the fundamental laws into two
parts.
categories.
Yes, the
Justiciable
fundamental
and non-justiciable.
Yes, that is the fundamental rights and the DPSP. The
DPSP.
things that you can implement right now, that will be put under the fundamental rights. The things that at that time the country is not ready, whether it is economically, socially, in a religious way, so that will be implemented over a period of time. And I think that's why, as you have said, and she have also said, that because the India could not implement this law because of opposition from both sections of Hindus and Muslims, I think, so that's why they put it under the DPSP, that is Directive Principles of State Policy, under Article 44. Yes.
And even not only talking about the Muslim leaders, even some of the prominent Hindu leaders were there. They
Yes.
were opposing the implementation
Exactly.
of UCC at that time.
At that time.
And they also said that we can implement UCC after a span of 10 to 15 years.
When the India will be ready.
When the India will be
When
ready.
India will be more aware, when India will be more educated, when they will understand the benefits of implementation of UCC. And I think for that reason alone, that after the constitution was made and it was adopted as well, there was certain initiative taken to at least unify the Hindu laws in the form of Hindu Marriage Act of 1955, in the form of Hindu Succession Act of 1956, and various other laws as well. So basically these laws, what they have done is it has unified the laws for the Hindus, Jain, Sikh, and I think Buddhist people as well. So there was certain initiative post-independence as well to unify the laws of India. Now in this section, what we are going to talk about is certain landmark judgments that has come, and we all have seen what has happened in the Shah Bano case. There were cases of, I think there was a case about Sarla Mudgal as well. There is a case of John Vallamotam as well in 2003, and there is also one case of Danny Latifi. So we'll discuss about these cases, what happened in these particular cases. The first case, I'll start with the first case, and that is the Shah Bano case. So Shah Bano case, let's discuss about that particular aspect. So Shah Bano, I'll just give you a brief like intro of that particular case. In that particular case, that happened in 1985, in which there was a woman, 73-year-old woman, and she basically put a case against her husband for paying of maintenance. For paying of alimony under section 125 of CRPC. What happened in that particular case was that she filed for alimony and maintenance, and both the session court and the high court actually ruled in her favor, kind of validating section 125 of CRPC. Now, this woman, when she went to Supreme Court, the Supreme Court also favored her in this particular case. Although her husband argued that under the Islamic law or Muslim personal law, they are only entitled to pay the money for a period of 90 days or 3 lunar months, or the period of iddat, that is the term that is used. And the Supreme Court obviously did not agree with this particular aspect, and they said that no, everybody will be under implementation of section 125, and they said that woman, Shah Bano, is eligible to get the alimony. So that is what I have understood from that case. What have you understood from that case?
Sir, like you said that maintenance of because of the maintenance she forced the case, filed a case in Supreme Court, and we are talking about like section 125. It depicts that women, children and parents protection act. Like if the husband, man is eligible to pay, he has to pay.
He has to pay the maintenance.
He have to pay the maintenance, and if he does not pay, it will be criminal offense. It will be type of criminal offense of like Article 14, Article 15 and Article 21.
Yes, various articles that were the fundamental rights,
Yes.
and the Supreme Court believed that she deserved these fundamental rights.
Yes.
But I think after the judgment came, it is the men, the Muslim men, they were protesting all across India, and that put a lot of pressure on the government of India. And at that time, Rajiv Gandhi was ruling, and what he did was he passed one more act superseding the judgment of the Supreme Court. That was an ideal time, I'll tell you. That was an ideal time because that woman was divorced using the terms of triple talaq.
Yes.
Ultimately, Supreme Court had also argued that the government should make laws in order to remove this particular thing of triple talaq. Ultimately, 2017, Supreme Court judgment also came in that favor that we are disregarding the triple talaq provision. So that was an ideal time. That was a very big opportunity for the Indian government to implement UCC or at least remove certain issues like triple talaq. But what did the government of India do? What did the Rajiv Gandhi government do in 1986? And that is, they passed that Protection of Women or Muslim Women's Act of 1986, which basically said that this section 125 of CRPC will not be applicable to the Muslims. It will only be applicable to the other women or other religious women. So how do you see the significance of this particular, both the judgment of Supreme Court and the decision taken by the Rajiv Gandhi government? How do you see that?
Yes. So first of all, like it was a lack of human justice. So when she knocked the door of Supreme Court, and Supreme Court was the came
Savior,
as savior in that savior, and but at the time the Islamic Orthodox people were not allowed to
again, that is their personal laws.
That is their personal
They
laws,
also have the right to believe that if they follow certain laws for a long time, they also have the right to believe in that. So again, that is a kind of a debate between the religious laws, personal laws and the constitutional laws. Yes.
So, and I also think Shah Bano case, because of that, it sparks the demand of UCC.
Yes.
From then only, the UCC is a serious
significant
topic.
push. Yes.
Because after that, our Supreme Court also started demanding Parliament, government to make a law for UCC.
From various judgments.
Yes.
I think one of the judgment that I can think about is the John Vallamotam case.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Can you elaborate on that?
So, sir, in 2003, he's a Roman Catholic priest.
Priest from Kerala.
Yes, sir, from Kerala. So, sir, he wants to donate a land, but due to Section 118
of the Indian Succession Act.
Indian Succession Act 1925, which discriminates Christian to donate their land if they have nephew, a niece, or anyone in their family. So they cannot charity their land or charity
they cannot donate their land.
Donate with their will
for charity.
So, sir, due to which he case.
He put a case in
he
the-
put a case in Supreme Court, and after that, section 118 has
was
been
struck down.
was struck down, and
Now he was eligible to donate.
He was
his
eligible
land
to donate
for
his land.
religious
Yes,
purposes. Do you see any other judgment where the point for UCC came into picture, that the Supreme Court talked about UCC?
After the Shah Bano case, there was a lawyer known Daniel Latifi who challenged the who challenged to Supreme Court on basis of Section 125.
All right.
Like-
the same provision
Yes.
of the Shah Bano case. All right.
Yes, the main petition was there that is Muslim women also eligible for the for 125 section,
Or
like
not.
divorce section or not, and the result was that Supreme Court had the judgment that everyone is equal before the law of Article 114, Article 15.
Okay, so I think I have also gone through that particular judgment in a brief manner, and what I could gather from that judgment is that in the Shah Bano case, obviously the
Yes.
Supreme Court said that she is eligible to get the
Yes.
maintenance under Section 125. In the Daniel Latifi case, what Supreme Court said that the maintenance should be enough such that it takes care her for the entire lifetime.
Yes.
It should not be there only for a 90-day period or for any other period, and it should also be if the girl remarries, then obviously the maintenance can stop, but till the time she is not remarrying or till the time she is alive, the maintenance should be paid in that manner only.
Yes.
So I think that again protected the interest of the Muslim women in India.
Yes.
Relate the same thing with the Shah Bano case. When she was 73 years old, she has been deserted.
Yes,
And
yes.
had she been in her 30s or in her 20s, she could have married somebody.
Yes.
But
yes.
it was again a very discriminatory thing.
Obviously. So that's why Shah Bano has become a kind of a basis on which UCC debates are progressing. One more case I'm sure all of us can talk about is the Sarla Mudgal case. Yes, do you want to throw some light on that?
Actually, Sarla Mudgal was the owner of NGO named Kalyani, and she was representing some of the plights that were happening with the Indian women.
All right.
So particularly this case throws some light on Jitendra Mathur. Yes, Jitendra Mathur, who was married for several years, but after that, in his course of time, he fell in love with some girl. Some other women.
And again, for that reason, and that is completely normal to fall in love with somebody else. But when you are in marriage, that becomes an issue. So basically, what happened was that he married somebody, or he basically wanted to marry somebody else. He fell in love. He wanted to marry, and for that, the thing that he used was to convert his religion to Islam and then get married to that. So what happened after that? Can you throw some light? Yes.
Because in particularly in the Hindu religion, Hindus are not allowed for polygamy. So particularly
Under the Hindu Marriage Act.
Under the Hindu Marriage Act,
Yes.
And particularly, so he found the loopholes in the laws, and he converted himself and the women too. And he became Islam, because in the Islam 4 marriages are allowed. So they married there. But even after some days of marriage, when he realized his fault, that what he had been doing, so he converted himself into into Hinduism again. Yes. So now what happens? Now the women she fall in love with, now she accused Jitendra Mathur, that he has been in influence of his wife and children.
Former wife.
A former wife and his children.
The husband tried to misuse the religious laws in order to convert to another religion, in order to marry somebody, and once he realized his fault, he wanted to convert back to Hinduism. The Supreme Court, I think they said very clearly in this judgment that a person who is married under the Hindu Marriage Act of 1955, if he is married under that particular act, that act doesn't allow anybody to marry again. So that will violate the terms of Hindu Marriage Act of 1955. So if a person does that, he will be prosecuted under Section 494 of Indian Penal Code. And I think that was the thing that was done to him as well. So we have, in a way, we have talked about certain landmark judgment. We have talked about the Shah Bano case, and we have seen what was the impact of that case on the entire legal provisions. We have talked about John Vallamotam case in 2003 and how the Supreme Court of India struck down Section 118 of Indian Succession Act. We have also talked about Daniel Latifi case, where it was said that the maintenance should be paid to the Muslim women for the entire lifetime or till the time she gets remarries, and not just the period of 90 days or the Iddat period. And lastly, we have also talked about the Sarla Mudgal case, in which they have said that if you have married under a particular religious laws, you have to abide by the terms of that particular laws, and if you do not do that, then religious or the prosecution will be on you. So in that way, after discussing about that, I'm sure you also know that there were various law commissions which were constituted from time to time, and they have also advocated, maybe they have not advocated very clearly or very expressly that we should implement the UCC, but they have subsequently talked about kind of improving or going towards reformation of the personal laws of the country of various religions. For example, in 1999 Law Commission report, they have said that instead of implementation of the entire UCC at once, we should think about gradual reformation of certain personal laws. Ultimately, when the time will be ready, then we can implement the UCC. Yes,
even in the 22nd Law Commission report of 2016, it particularly stated some question, and it particularly also allowed the Indian citizens to give some advice, to give some valuable advice that would guide the lawmakers to make the decisions, to make the laws more transparent,
Exactly.
and it would be more useful for the Indian citizens.
Obviously. And again in 2017 and 18, the law commissions have argued for gradual transformation of the personal laws and gradual improvement in them, such that India will be ready for the implementation of UCC. So after talking about all these judgments, after talking about all the law commission reports as well, and the chronology of UCC in India, now let's talk about the pros and cons. What are the benefits of implementation of UCC, and what are the negative impacts of implementation of UCC? So let's talk about the pros of implementation of UCC. Starting with you, do you see any benefit of implementation of UCC in India?
Obviously, sir, in Indian Constitution, in preamble, we have a word secular.
Yes.
So I think our India will be secular in true means if we implement UCC.
Do you want to add anything to that?
Yes, like in India, the article of constitutions, Article 14 of Indian Constitution says about the right to equality. So while talking about right to equality, if we do not have any uniformity, so how can we have the right to equality?
Exactly. That is, Article 14 talks about equality before law.
Law, right.
So that's why the law should be same for
Law should
everybody.
be shown.
And I think that is one of the major contradiction to the personal laws of India, where on one hand in Article 14 you are saying that everybody is equal in terms of law, and on the other hand, especially in the cases of marriage, divorce, adoption, inheritance, you are saying that different people will be subjected to different laws.
Now we can see if any matter comes and if religion is between that. So government take initiative, but they don't take much initiative because the legal matter. And if UCC will be implemented, it will be much easier for them.
For both the government and the
the
judiciary
people. Yes.
to interpret and implement the laws.
Yes.
Because right now what is happening, if any case of that nature goes to the Supreme Court or High Court or for any other court, they have to interpret the personal laws and see that how they can conform it with the constitutional laws. So it becomes a kind of a legal tangle for a lot of judges in India, how to interpret the personal laws and make sure that justice is also served.
Sir, so I see UCC as a very modern and progressive law. We can take example from many modern countries like France, Japan, Israel, USA.
Yes.
They have implemented UCC.
All right.
So
in spite of so many other religions living in that country,
residing in that country also.
Exactly.
So I think it is a step of modernization. It will help in the development of country.
Yes.
It will
take the country forward.
Yes, sir. And unnecessary confusion can be
removed from. Yes. Can be ignored.
Judgment.
Can be can be completely sidelined.
So I think that the implementation of UCC would be landmark. That women would get their reforms, women would be more liberalized
and empowered.
It
will lead to women, true women empowerment will take place in that particular case. And the ultimate thing, the last point about the benefits of UCC that I can think about is that ultimately it will create India it will create a united India because everybody will be under the same provision. So they will not say that the law is biased towards them or law is biased towards somebody. So it is going to preserve, it is going to create a more united India, India which is uniform in its laws. India where all the laws are applicable equally to all the people as well. So thereby creating a much more stronger united India. So that again, and it will also lead to a feeling of fraternity among the people of India, because ultimately there will not be any differences in the laws of those people. So after discussion about the positive aspect, let's also discuss about some of the negative impacts of implementation of UCC. Again, why we are talking about it? Because it's a very relevant topic. Because if this government comes back to power, as it is mentioned in their manifesto, there is a very good chance, as far as I can see, that UCC is going to be implemented in India. So we should be aware about it. We should be understanding about it. So what do you think are the negative impacts of implementation of UCC? Anybody can start. Yes.
Yes. In India, people are very, very religious. So I think like doing some and making some laws fixed with the religion, it may hurt the sentiments of some particular groups.
Yes, no doubt about it. Some communities their interests can get hurt, especially if their laws or their personal laws are very different from the laws which will be implemented. They will say, they will see, or I'm sure it will be considered as an attack on their culture, on their community, on their personal laws. So that will be a kind of an attack on the religious freedom to a lot of people in India, especially the Muslim community in India. It will be an attack on their religious freedom, that they are not allowed to decide their own religious laws.
India is a very diverse country.
Yes.
Article 29, which is a fundamental right of protecting the cultural right of minorities. So I think it can get affected due to personal law, that they cannot perform their rituals or anything as they are in very much minority.
Yes, exactly. Especially if you talk about what you've initiated, I'll just conclude that point by talking about that northeastern states.
Yes, sir. Especially northeastern states.
Exactly. Like states like Nagaland, Mizoram, they have their personal matters are actually decided by their customary laws, their tribal laws. So if you are going to implement UCC in India, what will happen to those customary laws? Are you going to disregard those customary laws and will tell them that you, being a citizen of India, you also have to conform to the UCC and your rights will be disregarded? Are you going to say that? So this is again a very important aspect that the people who are going to implement this law should keep in mind, that what will happen to the customary rights of the northeastern people or anybody whose rights are very different from the rights that you are going to implement. So that is again a very important thing. One more example that I can think about in the northeastern area only is the if I'm sure you all have heard about the states of Meghalaya. There are certain tribes like Garo, Khasi, Jaintia tribes, that is basically tribes based on the names of the mountains which are over there. So these tribes, what they follow is a matrilineal lineage. Like the property, the rights are transferred from mother to the daughter. So are you going to, if you are talking about succession, if you're going to talk about inheritance laws, that will be part of UCC. So how will you determine that? Are you going to tell them that no, whatever you have been following for the last 100 years, 200 years, thousands years, you have to stop that and you have to adopt our policies? So again, it is going to hurt the rights of minorities or anybody who do not agree with the UCC laws. Yes.
So I think like the lawmakers, they are much more educated than us. I think one thing that could be like taking some exceptions, making some exceptions for these tribes to preserve their minority and to preserve their interests.
So I think the government has already done. Under Schedule 5 and Schedule 6. Schedule 5 for the tribal rights of all the tribals of India and Schedule 6 for certain tribals of 4 states of northeastern India. So that they have already done. They have protected that right. So if now the question comes is that if the UCC is implemented, are you going to cancel those schedules? Are you going to remove those schedules? Or are you going to continue those schedules? Because if you continue those schedules, then the other communities will also say that what wrong we have done. That if you are protecting those interests, why can't you protect our interest? If you are allowing for their religious freedom, why can't you allow for our religious freedom? There could be a big debate about this particular thing. So if you are saying that we should preserve, then why not preserve everybody?
I think again I have no legal expertise, so I would say that it would be very interesting to see how our stalwart legal experts would take some decisions in these matters, and it would be interesting.
Obviously, no doubt about it. We'll see like how it is implemented, and no matter whether it is implemented or not, I'm pretty sure it is going to be implemented if the current government comes back to power. So if it is implemented, it will be very interesting to see what kind of impact, what kind of outcome it has, what kind of consequences it entails. Yes, you want to add any other negative impact of UCC?
Like sir, one of the negative aspect of UCC is lack of awareness. Before implementing UCC, government have to make sure that everyone is aware of what is UCC really means. Because if they implement like this only, then people will oppose UCC.
Obviously, no doubt about it. So if you have to first of all make them ready, because there is a lack of awareness, and if you just implement without any warning, without making them aware that this can happen, I think that can lead to certain reaction from these communities. When they have created this part 4 of the Indian Constitution, that is directive principle of state policy, what they have said that the state shall endeavor, and in particular Article 44 only, that they have written, the state shall endeavor to implement UCC throughout the length and breadth of the country. That endeavor should be there. The state should try to do that. And I think that now or in a few years' time is the right time to implement these policies, because again, it will ultimately protect the interest of women in India. Protect the interest of women. But again, it is not a sweeping argument that I want to make. I also want to add certain parts to it, that we should implement it in a way that it also doesn't feel that we are attacking certain religions and we are taking away the customary rights of certain individuals or certain communities in India. Now let's see, where do you see ahead? Are there any state, what is the current state of UCC in India? Are there any states which has implemented UCC in India? The only state that comes to my mind is the Goa example. So anybody can elaborate on that. How? Yes.
So, like talking about the current status of UCC in India, like we know about the Goa, that Goa was under Portuguese rule, and even in 1869, UCC was implemented there, and since then, even after the organization of Goa in India, the UCC has been there.
Yes. And that is like Goa has always been under the rule of Portuguese, and that's why the Portuguese had their own Portuguese civil law, and that was retained, I think, even after integration of Goa in 1961. When Goa was integrated using police action, I think the people of Goa taking cognizance of their aspiration, the government agreed that we will continue the same provision of Portuguese civil code, and I think in Goa the uniform civil code is applied in the true sense. There is no differences in terms of marriage, divorce and other aspects.
Yes, and while talking about the uniform civil code in Goa, and while reading about that, I got to know that some people also criticize the uniform civil code, and one of the point that I want to highlight about that,
yes, please,
like it is about the marriage. So if somebody is married for some years, and if his wife is not having any babies, so if that year is 25, if that wife is 25 years old and she is not bearing any baby, that man can marry again.
Okay, so that is also one of the
provision that is criticized by
so nothing is perfect in a way that these laws which govern the personal relation of people, whether it is marriage, divorce, inheritance, succession, these are very personal in nature, and that's why we have personal laws in place, because every religion are run or governed by certain laws, and that's why this is there. The moment we want to adopt a one size fits all approach, it is going to create certain issues, because some people may not agree with that strategy, because this is an area which can be interpreted in different ways by different kind of communities. So yes, you want to add anything to it?
Sir, I am going to give a very silly argument about that.
So you have announced it before itself.
Yes, sir. Like we have seen, our current government has UCC is a very we can say a sensitive topic.
Yes, very, very sensitive.
Like Article 370, Ram Ayodhya,
Yes.
and Janbhoomi case, and CAA also.
Yes.
So I think this government has implemented all these things in a very easy way, so that
Smoothly way, yes.
communal harmony can be maintained.
Preserved, yes.
So I think this government is capable enough to implement UCC also without
Without any repercussions,
communal
without
chaos.
any outcomes, without any communal violence and communal
violence.
tensions.
Yes, sir.
So, did you vote for BJP this election?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Like while we are talking about the implementation UCC, so we have particularly talked about the Goa,
Yes.
and let us not forget that
Yes.
Uttarakhand this year has
Exactly,
also
exactly.
implemented
Yes.
UCC in February under the governance of Pushkar Dhami, who was the chief minister.
Exactly.
Yes.
And I think that created a lot of news in Uttarakhand as well as across India. What Uttarakhand has done is that they have categorized all the laws in 4 categories. And one of the provision that I could think about is the live-in aspect.
relationships.
And although it is a very interesting kind of a provision that they have kept, I don't know how many people will agree with it, especially the modern men or women, how many people will agree with the provisions over there. But I think, again, understanding the people, understanding the culture of that region, maybe for them, this is the right thing to go. So we cannot criticize or we cannot compliment unless we understand the impact of these particular provisions.
So, sir, in my opinion, we should shift personal law from concurrent list to central list.
Yes.
Because state has been interfering. If we keep it in concurrent list, then state can also interfere in it.
That particular.
So I think it will also get biased because southern state had something else, some other culture, and in north has some other culture.
Northeastern had some other culture as
some
well.
other culture. So if every state have their own personal law, so it do not have uniformity.
Exactly,
So if
exactly.
we want uniformity, it should be shifted to central list.
But again, although you see the positiveness in that it will take away all the divisions in the uniform civil code, but don't you think that if we will give center all the power, the center will make laws that everybody has to accept whether they agree with it or not? If we give more power to the states, then in that states maybe a certain religion or certain community is living, and that state is elected to preserve the interest of those people. So maybe there is a possibility that these states whatever, if the issue is there in the concurrent list, if this personal laws are there in the concurrent list, it is for the betterment, it is for the right reason it is there. Yes.
So what reason here I can think of, like whatever party comes into power, may it be left, right, or central parties, like they have their certain ideologies. I think while implementing these laws, that touch of ideology would be there, and it could be hurting the sentiments of few communities as well.
No matter whether you implement it or you don't implement it, it is going to hurt interest, and that we have talked about already in the pros and cons of the issue. So I think we have discussed substantially on this particular topic, and I'm sure the people who are going to watch this particular conversation, they will understand and they will get aware about what are the how it was there before the independence part, what happened during the independence, and what happened post independence as well, including all the landmark cases and the benefits and the cons of this particular provision. So again, the purpose, I'm going to reiterate my point that the purpose of this particular conversation is to spread awareness, is to make you understand that what are the issues which are there, such that in future, when UCC is implemented in our country, you have at least some kind of understanding, some kind of information, some kind of awareness, which help you to understand the provision properly. So with these words, I'm going to wrap up this conversation. Thank you so much. Have a good day.